Welcome to section 3 of unit 2. Alright, we are going to look at present values, the process of determining present values. That will be our main motive for today. So our sole objective today is to explain the process of discounting. Discounting means moving from the future value to the present value. That is what we are going to look at today at this section. Right, so what is present value? If you say present value, what do you mean by present value? So present value is the current value of future cash inflows or cash outflows. So simply put, present value is the current value of future cash flows. Alright. You're trying to find in present terms the future value. Yeah. So in order to find the present value, you have to multiply the future value by what is called discounting factor. So this discounting factor will help us to convert the future value into the present value. I hope you understand. Yeah. So the discount factor is the one indicated here. Yeah, this is the discount factor formula. 1 over 1 plus r exponent n. Right, so let's try with a simple example. Determine the present value of 10,000 Ghana cedis to be received in 3 years if the interest rate is 16.5%. Alright, so looking at the formula, PV is the present value, FV is the future value, 1 over 1 plus R. The R represents the interest rate or the cost of capital, and the N is the period or the number of years. Yeah. So if you are in year 3 and you want to convert it to year 0, it means N will be equal to 3 years. Yeah. So the present value equals future value over 1 plus r raised to the power n. And the future value was given to be 10,000, and the interest rate is 16.5%, which is also the same as 0.165 in a decimal. So n, from the question, they said the future value, the amount to be received in 3 years. So n equals 3 years. So substituting all these variables into the equation, we are going to get 10,000 over 1.581167, and at the end we are going to get 6,324.4 Ghana cedis as the present value. So 3 years time the value will be 10,000, but if you want to look at it in the present condition, the actual value is 6,324. Let's try another example here. This is a very lengthy example, but let's walk through it together. So ABM Fruits and Desert Right are competitors in the fruit juice industry, working to introduce new fruit juice products in 2019. Let's take notice of the years. 2019. So ABM launched its product as planned, but Desert Right launched theirs in 2020 due to difficulty in getting approval from the Food and Drugs Board Authority. So from this first paragraph, ABM and Desert Right are both competitors in the fruit juice industry. They both plan to launch their products on the market in 2019, but due to some legality challenges, ABM was able to launch its product, but Desert Right couldn't launch its product in 2019, and it was able to rather launch it in 2020. Alright, so assume that in 2019, Desert Right estimated that if it were able to launch its fruit juice immediately, that is, if it was able to launch it in the 2019, its sales could have been 185,000 Ghana cedis. So if it was able to launch its product as planned in the 2019, it projected to make a sale of 185,000. Let's continue. But allowing ABM first mover advantage for 1 year without competition will lead to a reduction in their projected sales by 15%. So it's trying to mean that because it couldn't launch the product in 2019, but its competitor was able, that is Desert Right, ABM was able to launch the product in 2019. So it's estimated that because now ABM is having a first mover advantage, so they went to the market, they were able to launch their product in 2019, but Desert Right couldn't launch its product, and as a result, ABM has a first mover advantage. So they estimated that if they allow ABM first mover advantage for 1 year without any competition, it means they projected that there will be a reduction in their projected sales by 15% in 2020. So 2019 they projected to have 185,000, but because they couldn't launch their product, but ABM was able to launch, and ABM is having a first mover advantage, now they reduce their projection by 15% in 2020. I hope you understand the question. All right. So what's the requirement? Determine the cost of the 1 year delay in Ghana cedis if the interest rate is 16% in 2019. Let's take note of the year. Now we have 2019 in the question, we have 2020 in the question. But the requirement of the question is saying that we should determine the cost of the 1 year delay in Ghana cedis if the interest rate is 16% in 2019. Alright, so let's assume there's no 2020. It will simply mean that they projected 185,000. Do you get it? And now because they were unable to launch it in 2019 and they launched it in 2020, they made adjustment to their projection in 2020 that it will reduce by 15%. So what it means that the projection for 2020 is 85% of the projection in 2019. I hope you understand. Yeah. So because 2020 is 1 year ahead of 2019, we will have to discount the figure for 2020 to 2019 so that at least 2019 figures will have the same value. They are all in the present condition. Then we find the difference between the two. So the difference between the two is the cost of the 1 year delay. Because they couldn't launch their product in 2019, their sales production was reduced. Their sales projection was reduced. So the difference between the two projections will give you the cost of the delay. I hope you understand. Alright, so let's try our hand on it. Yeah, so I made some point here. If the launch is delayed to 2020, the revenue will drop by 15%. So 50% means that you find 80%. You can confirm with your calculator. 85% of the 185,000, which will give you 157,250. So this is the projected sale for 2020. Is 157,250. But this figure is in 2020, and we are comparing it to 2019. You see, at least they should have an equal basis of comparison. So we have to discount the future amount to present. Alright, so moving from the future to the present is discounting. Okay, so the discount factor is 1 over 1 plus r raised to the power n times the future value. So now the future value here is the 157,250. We divide by the discount factor, which is 1 plus 0.16, because the rate was 16%, raised to the power 1, because it's just 2019 to 2020, it's just one year, and we will get 135,560.35. So now this is the present value. Alright, we've converted from 2020 to 2019. Now we have equal basis of comparison. So we can compare this 2020 projected sales, which has been converted into 2019, to the actual projection in 2019. So the actual projection in 2019 was 185,000 and 2020 own is 135,560. So the cost of the delay is the difference between the 185,000 and the 135,560, which is 49,439.65 Ghana cedis. So this is the cost of the delay for the 1 year. I hope you understand. Yeah, you can play over and over until you get it. You can also try it on your own as you do your personal studies. All right, so there are instances that the examiner or the question may demand you to find some missing values in the formula. All right, it means they can give you the future value, they can give you the present value, and they will ask you to find the rate. So anytime you are asked to find the rate, you just make change of subject to the formula and you make R the subject. All right, as simple as that. I hope you still remember your basic mathematics from the SHS. Yeah, so you just make change of subject, you make R the subject, and you get a new equation. So R is equal to the nth root of future value over present value minus 1. Yeah, so this is the formula for finding the rate if you are given the future value, present value, and you are asked to find the rate. So let's use example to clarify it. Example 2, determine the interest rate at which one can invest 6,324.44 to get 10,000 Ghana cedis to be received in 3 years. Let's take it again. Determine the interest rate at which one can invest 6,324 Ghana cedi, 44 pesos to get 10,000 to be received in 3 years. Right, so the future value is 10,000. What you are investing is the present value, which is 6,324.44, and the number of years to be received is 3 years. Right, so substituting these figures into the formula, you have 3 in the root of 10,000 divided by 63244, all minus 1, and we are going to get 3 root of 1.58116766, and you less 1 from the answer. Alright, so at the end we are going to get 16.5, but you are asked to find the rate. You know the rate is always more like a percentage wise. So initially you get 0.165 and you multiply by 100 and you get in a percentage form, which is 16.5%. You see, it's so simple. Just practice with more questions, then you become perfect. Alright, finding the period. So sometimes you may be asked to find the period. So the period is the number of years. So the question can give you the future value, the present value, and the rate, and they will ask you to find the number of years that maybe it will take for you to move from A to B. Look at it. So that one too, you just have to make change of subject and you make n the subject of the equation. So making n the subject of the equation, we are going to get this long formula. It's not anything, it's just the logarithm function. Alright, you can just apply your calculator and you are good to go. So n will be equal to the log of future value over present value, all divided by log into brackets 1 plus r. Alright, so log can be found on your calculator. You make substitution of the figures and you are good to go. So let's try with the same example to see if you are going to get the n figure. So determine the number of years for which one can invest 6,324.44 to get 10,000 at an interest rate of 16.5%. Alright, so you have to determine the number of years. Alright, so let's substitute them into the equation. So it looks simple, right? Yeah, so 10,000 is your future value. 10,000 is your future value divided by the present value, which is 6324.44, all divided by log into brackets 1 plus r, and r is giving us 0.165 or 16.5%. is the same thing. So yeah, bracket first. When you finish, then multiply by the log. So log 1.58116 all divided by log 1.165. We are going to get 3.0000215. Alright, then we approximate to the nearest whole number. We are going to get 3 years. You see, I didn't write 3 Ghana cedis because the question required us to find the number of years or the period. So anytime you are finding the number of years or period, you write it in years. You get it? If you are to find the future value, the present value, it's in cedi term or currency term, so you write it based on the currency prevailing in the question. All right, so n is 3 years. All right, I hope you've learned something. You've learned how to find your number of years when not given, how to find your future value, how to find your present value, and how to find your rate if you are given your future value, present value, and the number of period. Alright, so these are the key things that we looked under this section. We have learned how to calculate present values for a single cash flow. Alright, all we've been doing is finding the present value of a single cash flow. We have also determined how to find the missing values of rate and time. So if you are not given, now you can calculate for it. Don't say, hey, this question they didn't give us the number of period. It means you can't solve. No, you can solve. You just make a change of subject. You make the missing number the subject. You substitute the available figures and you are good to go. Alright. Yeah. So these are some assessment tests for you. You have question 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 9. Yeah. We have 9 questions here. Try your hands on it. As you make your personal studies, try your hands on it. And the more that you solve the questions, the better you understand. Alright, this will be the end of this section. Thank you, and I will see you in the next section.